Będziemy mówić o tym, w jaki sposób można, na przykład.
And we will talk about how you can get financing to protect your intellectual property. And this is a world full of challenges, but this intellectual property can be a factor that can give you a competitive edge. So we have a number of ideas, tools that support our entrepreneurs. And a bit of trivia. We can brag also when it comes to the cosmic scale. Michał Kracik designed for NASA a helmet for biosuite and modern spacesuit. And in the past, it was a Polish person that designed a moon rover. Thank you, Łukasz, for this bit of trivia. So we have the Deputy President of the Polish Patent Office. And you have prepared, as the office, a number of tools, a number of instruments that would help them better to develop and protect their IP. What can you offer? Thank you. Let me thank you for this question. I would like to welcome all of you who are listening to us. Thank you for the presentations that we've listened to so far. So we have a business that is reinforced with design, and there, tangible tools are very important. And both the Polish Patent Office and the Polish Agency of Business Development, we both support those tools. So in a moment I'll discuss this innovators package, but before that, a few words to reflect on what we've heard so far. This is a special moment in time. And for me, a crisis and a creator are two important concepts here. Schumpeter, he was an economist that focused on creative ideas, and he basically studied that. So, under the Great Depression, he started lecturing at Harvard, and every lecture he began by saying, a crisis is a good thing for capitalism. It's a good cold shower. So the question is, how do we see what is happening under this pandemic? How are we going to use this pandemic for our benefit, to boost our economy? And here comes in this second important concept, that of a creator. In those presentations, we've heard about various projects and the paths that you need to take to get there. What is really important, what is the most important element, I believe, is the creator. You need to remember, but who comes up with innovation, who those tools are aimed at. What role are they supposed to play? Is it only about satisfying the main creator, or maybe is it only about satisfying various ratios, indicators, those targets that were designed so that they are achievable, or maybe it should be something else. What do I mean by something else? In the sphere of management, you have this approach that is oriented at human relationships, at creators. At the beginning of the 21st century, you had this user-driven innovation. It's also linked to that. In 2012, there was a great paper published on that. So it is about paying attention to the end consumer, but also it's about paying attention to the end consumer's needs at the very beginning of the whole process. And this is something that we try to pay attention to in our office. We need to look ahead. That's what we've been trying to do. And you can see that. You have been doing that for years now. You as the office, you're paying attention to the needs of creators, but also to the society and to business. So thank you very much. Let's look at how multidisciplinary this conference is. That shows that this goal has been met. Mr. President, would you be so kind as to share with us what interesting tools PARP has been offering? Thank you on behalf of the institution. Thank you for the invitation. Our cooperation with the Patent Office cannot be boiled down to a photo op or just a document that has been signed. We have been cooperating, and this has been a very pragmatic, a very hands-on kind of cooperation. We are helping one another, and Piotr has been invited to our academy so as to show how you can benefit when you're protecting your IP, including your trademarks. So this is a work that is very much needed and helpful. And we have been invited in turn by the Patent Office, so we are helping each other. This conference is yet another brick that has been laid on this construction that we've been building. So thank you for your question. Piotr actually has said a few interesting things, but Kuzara had mentioned before. How do we think about us, our reality? It is something that we are creating locally, nationally, regionally. It is all linked to how we perceived our reality, how our sense of aesthetics has been shaped. And here, in Poland, you see a certain space that we're in, and those chairs, but yet there was this period that hurt us quite a lot. There was a break of continuity.
And also being on your own, we've mixed. There are many talented people died, emigrated, many have their factories, offices, also their houses, their tenements. They felt responsible for the aesthetic quality, for functionality, things serving someone. You need to leave something to bequeath. Whole generations worked on it, and then there were 45 years that gave some chances. Polish design developed, yes. Some designers found themselves in those offices for reconstruction of cities. They created greens, but at this fundamental level, it was so that everything was formatted particularly, and actually nobody's. Now for just over 30 years, this has been changing, and you can see it from the Polish entrepreneurs. As Piotr said, well, we never invented that. That's something that comes from the concept, from the European policy as well, that entrepreneurs from the micro sector need those tools so that they could discuss those tools holistically, and that they could also work with the world of science, the world of design. And those tools are present also here, dedicated to both mature companies that have worked for some time, that have some revenue, but also to those absolutely new ones where a group of people can just incubate something. They start a company, build a prototype, and well, they can test it, they can invite a designer, do market research perhaps, also visualize this product, work on it a bit. And the agency here has this option also to protect that property. That's for the more mature businesses. This support offer that we have from European funds and also training-wise, we dedicate to two different worlds. The beginners and the mature. And then there is this space to invite a designer, to pay them, and that space is being developed because often there is shortage of time, shortage of money. A small company with 10 or 12 people doesn't have it because we don't have enough of the funds that you can spend on risk. Of course, a large company has multiple product lines. They test the market, 1, 2, 3, and finally 1 of 5 products, for example, makes it into the offer. There's some kind of segmentation, so this outlay pays back. Now, a small company with interesting product, I don't know, food, furniture, or they're only designing it. They never thought about such a thinking prior to that. They need that buffer, and the company sets in here, so that's the moment. Let's explain that we're talking about a program of support for entrepreneurs, like you mentioned, Mr. President, both the startups who are only considering their product and also the companies that are more developed and that are in the market and need support. But that's very precious because often, especially young companies, face problems with finance, and you often think that protection of your IPR is luxury, is expensive, so financial support here is possible thanks to our agency cooperating with the office here. Right, Łukasz, yes. I wanted to ask whether there are some preferred sectors, biotech, for example, or some kind of design. Well, support-wise, there are so-called smart specializations. There are more than 10 of those. Most support dedicated in European and public programs must concern those. These are the ones that you've mentioned and some other ones, medicine, for example. Also, you asked about it. There must be some minor stream of demand at the national world, the European level, is also something that the people who receive support from PARP agency receive. Some time ago, the president, for example, called and said, well, recently there have been a lot of those from some regions and they must do it on time because that's some kind of very important element for them and they can't go on. And we would then say, yes, there is this incubation program. It takes 6 months. They must do it on time. If they do, they can come to the agency for more support, this time investment support, and that's the moment when we were developing such forms of cooperation, and the office was also more flexible. It's great to know that there is this cooperation between the offices and eagerness to cooperate. Mr. President. Yes, of course, I subscribe to this point of view with both my hands, and now systemically, stimulation of protection through finance is not bad as a principle. You could say, well, there is money for protection, so there are more applications. Well, I believe that when we approach this problem systemically and when we show that it's important to develop awareness, and there is this awareness among people that it's worthwhile to protect the effects of your development, then the support programs from PARP and other institutions turn into a tool on the path to succeed. Just like intellectual property protection is a tool. If I may, a few sentences on that? Yes, with great pleasure. Now, at the level of what specifically the patent office does, can I ask my colleagues for my presentation? Just a few minutes is just a little section of reality that the patent office is trying to shape. So tools and support programs for enterprises. First, we can't see the presentation yet, but I hope it will be here in a moment. Okay, I'm being told everything's fine, so I think we can pass on to the following slide. Precisely, we have benefits here, benefits stemming from intellectual property. Mr. President and I have already mentioned a few things here, so let me now draw your attention to the fact that there is this negative impact of the monopoly that comes from the rights of intellectual property, whichever protection rights we have. Negative means that we forbid the use of a solution. I say, this is mine. You cannot now impinge on my sole property. Now, there is this positive stimulator that lets creative sectors to use the protected solutions and develop activity. Colloquially, this is a self-propelling machine. I have some protected goods. I want to develop these technologies. I want to be creative in the Schumpeterian manner. And intellectual property makes it possible for me, at the same time protecting, of course, my innovation and my innovative solutions. Being specific, let's go on. The office has developed a package for the innovator. Next slide, please. Which is, in fact, making our activity more systemic. What you have already mentioned, it's so important to see that creator from the start. Not only when you just apply, but from birth, from the moment when you improve their awareness, when they don't yet know the difference between trademark and industrial design, and when they don't know about the agency and the office. All they know is that they want to make something innovative. We're here to help them on that path, so there are plenty of activities here, from really promotion of what we do, that's this conference, for example, via custom-tailored information for the entrepreneur, via support in the process of obtaining protection, and then monitoring and using, for example, our platform of electronic services. We can go on. Please say something more about this electronic and educational platform that you have. It's certainly worth mentioning and emphasizing that there is something like that. I've had a pleasure to simply learn the content there. It's prepared really in a very easy to reach way. If you want to know what they are and how to register, you offer it over a website. Yes, that's the Knowledge Zone, and you can find e-learning courses, our publications, materials. They are available free of charge. Some are written in a language written for patent attorneys, to people who have been in touch with intellectual property, but also some are for those who have no idea what these are, and they would simply want to get to know some of these problems. We have Własność intelektualna w Twojej firmie project here. In the briefest of the brief, this is a custom-tailored service to identify the intangible assets for a company. A micro or an SME can come to us, receive support, 95 or 90%, and an expert selected by the patent office will go to the company. You can also do it online because of a pandemic, and they'll say, okay, here you have a contract and you need more on copyright. Here you have a trademark, but you haven't registered. Register it with the patent office. If you want to have protection abroad, it's good to use the regional or international procedures. That's the shortest. It's a monopoly, but I wouldn't like to monopolize the time here because that would be far from being elegant. Let's go on with the presentation. We also inform via our information center in the office, but we also come out to the client. That's a part of this client center approach. Cambridge Innovation Center, our colleagues from the information department are available. They are there on duty. You don't need to arrive here on the spot. You can talk to us through our virtual window using chat, but you can also leave at the central train station, but you can also go to Cambridge Innovation Center, talk there. It's up to you. Let's go on. With specific tools, we have here a system, especially in the context of this conference. It's very important. It's part of the electronic services system. We launched Fast Track. It's the Fast Track mentioned by President Dębishevek in her initial presentation. This is this Fast Track for registering models and designs. You choose a form and you can quickly register any part of your design, plus your trademark as well. May I have one more slide, please? Of course, you can also obtain support at the level of EU funds. We also spread this news, spread this information, because we realize that protection costs. It comes at a cost, and these can be refunded through programs of EU IPO. That's Director Ashambo, whom you've already heard in the opening section, and also the programs of the European Patent Office, here the funds of the European Commission, the office that is responsible for the registration of technical solutions for patents. In our case, these are SME found for also trademarks. Let's go on. That's a good moment to invite you to contact the Polish Patent Office, and I believe that we've gone through the key tools that the office now offers. Thank you very much, Mr. President. And let's have a look at the website. You find all the information about this package for the innovator, and which is crucial. First, this educational part, which makes it possible for us to check what intangible goods we have and we can protect. Today we focus on industrial design due to the subject, but it's not only that. Trademark, for example. Then we are led step by step to be able to submit an application, find an expert, and have an audit. And an audit is a big thing. Congratulations, and thank you very much for this opening, for being open. It's really precious. Mr. President, speaking of the Polish Agency for the Development of Enterprises, I understand that all the information is on the website now. I don't have anything as good as Piotr has had, but yes, we would like to send you back to our website. I might start from Business Successes tab, top page, top line, Substantiatum. So business successes, yes, what you can obtain, everything that has been positively made, you can now talk about it. Officially, all the administrative and formal layer is completed. There are no doubts. The project has been cleared, and product is now a part of the company's offer, or perhaps it's being even marketed. That's one. Two, I'll probably now move to our tools, our academy, the PARP Academy, which offers tens of training sessions, a dozen a year. It's growing, and all that in this e-learning formula, where the questions of intellectual property rights are important. how to do it, why to patent abroad. So we have those courses that last a few hours. Some are on accounting, on types of activity, business activity in Poland, its legal aspects, and some very narrow questions that may be very important, for example, in exporting VAT after Brexit. We do those, and we're trying to give you adequate answers to what's getting on in the market and in the policy. So some elements that are non-financial, that's important even for teenagers and for retired people. I have a company, I had a company. It's really worthwhile to go to one of these courses to go through those. This is another subject. 3, we are in such a moment in time that talking about support programs, we can say that we're finishing those this year. This is the end of grants, of calls in this EU perspective. The next one is being negotiated. We're talking about the funds from the Chancellery of the Prime Minister, and I believe that in a number of months we're going to finish it, and in autumn those negotiations should finish.
So they should be accepted so that next year the EU funds can be actually rolled out. We have this new reconstruction plan. It should be launched in autumn in Poland. We are still in negotiations with the EU Commission. So there are certain tools that are popular with entrepreneurs, and we see the need for them to be continued. They will be continued in the new financial perspective. Some of them will be refreshed so as to make them more relevant for the new needs. Maybe the financing levels will change, but in principle, they should be largely preserved. Now, the current and future offer, we will continue to support prototyping, that is support with various R&D centers, universities that are, I'm talking about products that are new and improved. And here you have the whole IP thing, how a product is created, what it looks like, how ergonomic it is. So business and science, this link is something that you appreciate. Around 900 companies of smaller sized companies have used it so far. Various industries, including furniture, Sampao, kitchen and bathroom tops, something that is adapted to the needs of the elderly and people with disabilities. So there is this Accessibility Plus track. We are supporting the Ministry of Labour. Institutions have been given various responsibilities there, and we are partly responsible for those accessibility projects. This year there will be the last of those. You can create products adapted to the needs of various groups, not only with disabilities, but mothers with children, the elderly, various devices that can function, operate in the public space. Look at those devices where you collect the disinfectant. Some are more popular, some less, and see how popular they are. They seem to be omnipresent, and I think that they are here to stay, even in churches. So if you have a nice design, and if you have a good brand, there's an opportunity there. The functionality is always the same. And if I may butt in, we've had a number of applications. I'm talking about protective face masks and such dispensers for disinfectants. People want to protect those designs. And you have a unification of functionality and aesthetics. So the utility is important there. There are a number of models, and we've all practiced, a way in which you can use it. Some require us pressing a pedal, some of them are automatic. So there is a huge potential there, and you'll see IP there as well. So there are those databases with registered designs and trademarks. So if you're interested in that, you can see what's already been registered. So what you've said is a part of how we work with companies. I'll mention one more tool aimed at mature companies dedicated to the eastern part of Poland. It covers 5 regions of Poland. We have a special project, a project / design for competition. That's how it could be roughly translated. Companies start cooperating with designers that refresh their lineups or create new lineups. There's this company called Besta from Windshut. We talked about seats, various seats, and they have those amphitheater and museums and concert hall seats. And they went as far as San Francisco. So this product from Windshut is used in San Francisco, but also in Wrocław, in the Century Hall. So maybe it would have happened, but, maybe it wouldn't be as popular as it is. Some people are quite experienced working in various organizations and companies, and they are trying to open their own companies to see whether this is the path for them. And there are these incubation, acceleration projects. We co-finance various projects and there are all these operators of these funds. And there's this process. It takes months where you educate people and you look at whether any given idea clashes with something that's protected or not. And then you learn how to do it later down the line. It is not all that difficult to use this database because it's better to see whether we are not reinventing the wheel. Because, some of our ideas could have already been patented. Also, another question, where? In which markets? And you can select your strategy accordingly. You can patent it or register it. Madam President mentioned at the beginning that we have over 4 million rights registered all over the world. So when we want to pitch and present a product abroad, we need to remember about competitiveness. We need to see whether our design is already protected or not. We need to think of protection ahead of time so that there are no counterindication for further expansion abroad. Thank you, and all the best to the Patent Office. May you have as many applications as possible. When it comes to PARP, the Polish Agency for Business Support, may your projects be used by business, by entrepreneurs. And these applications that we will see, that will be financed by PARP, may they turn into commercially successful ventures, because business is important. Fingers crossed. Thank you so very much. Thank you, gentlemen.